Hello everyone, and welcome to my first 100 epic reads of a lifetime reading vlog in the year 2024. I believe we are at vlog 11. I believe I only have 31 books left off of the poster to read, so we are not in the home stretch per se, but we are in round 3. I don't know anything about sports. So for the January portion of this vlog, I read The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. So I didn't do any mid-vlog parts because I didn't really have a lot to say as I was reading. It is a very good book, but I just personally wasn't as engrossed as I think I should have been. There were a lot of characters to keep track of, and while that makes for a very fun and exciting adventure for most readers, I'm not sure if the translation I had was a little bit middling. Not that I'm gonna blame that, but I just felt that I didn't really connect to the book as I should have. I really enjoy Alexandre Dumas' writing. He did The Three Musketeers, if you don't know who he is. I think he's great and cool and a total king. Look him up, look up his story if you want to know more. I enjoy him a lot, but one thing with his stories is that it gets bombarded with a lot of filler that kind of takes the tension away from some things, and I feel like this story was just a little bit too complicated for me to truly enjoy. That's not to say that I disliked it or anything, it's just not a book that is going to stay with me. The parts that I liked, I loved the lesbians. Go lesbians, go. Yes. In a novel like this, seeing a Z plot where these two girls escape all of this and just go to Europe to go be lesbians together. Yes. Absolutely 100% support that. I also enjoyed a lot of the writings on revenge and how vengeance is taking total control of his life, and how he learns that vengeance can affect some people, and how he changes his vengeance, and how he eventually learns forgiveness for the people who deserve it, and vengeance for the people who deserve it. So it is just a very good story about vengeance, and a very good story about patience as well, because this guy took 25 years to do this. I couldn't possibly do that. I could not enact a plan in 25 years. I am too impatient. I'd get bored or annoyed. I'm a very impulsive and emotional person, so I just wouldn't let this happen. I would lunge at people. And I like at the end that, this is kind of a spoiler, he didn't end up getting the girl he was originally going to marry before he was imprisoned. I like that. It wasn't all for love, it was for vengeance. Sorry, that's Wyatt. You okay? He's laying in the sun right now. I'll put a clip in. As I was saying, he was entirely driven by vengeance, which is a very, Batman thing to do, and I support that because there's no room for women in either of their lives as he is trying to enact vengeance, so good for them, good for both of them. So I am ultimately going to give The Count of Monte Cristo 3 stars. It is a very solid read, and I highly recommend that you read it if you're into really big, complicated adventures and tales about vengeance and plans coming to fruition. So I have a very vague plan for the rest of this vlog. I could be wrong, this could be changed, but I wanted to try and do a pattern of long book, short book, long book, short book for this, because February is the shortest month and April is the month that I post this. So I wanted to have 2 months where I read the longer books and then have a shorter book for the month that I post the vlog. So my plans are January, The Count of Monte Cristo, February, Beloved, March, Anna Karenina, and April, The Princess Bride. Now those are very hesitant plans, so we will see at the end of the vlog if that is what comes to fruition. And finally, before we go into next month, I just want to thank my sibling for picking this month's book. It is their birthday month, so I was like, hey, can you pick the book for me? And they said, Count of Monte Cristo, I think you'll like it. So I liked it enough. It's solid. Okay, here we are. We are finally in February. For this month, I have decided to read Beloved by Toni Morrison. So I knew nothing about this book going in, and when I read the synopsis for it, it's about a runaway slave who is mourning the loss of a daughter that she had to kill in her desperation to be free. The gravestone, all she could afford to write on it was Beloved, so that is just the name of the dead child now. And I thought it was just going to be a long book about grief, but instead we're getting some magical realism and almost horror elements. Horrific things are happening as a result of the haunting of this ghost baby, essentially. At first, with the writing style, it is a lot to immediately get thrown into. It is a lot of writing, a lot of prose, a lot of description, and you feel almost lost, like you're just thrown in it immediately. But I read the foreword by the author, and that was her exact intention. So I'm glad that the foreword warned us that her intention was to immediately throw us into a world that we aren't familiar with, and we just have to get used to it. So I thought that was very interesting stuff. So I am just getting started with the book so far. I will come in later and let you know my further details soon. I have finished Beloved by Toni Morrison, and I think I am only going to be giving the book 2 stars. Personally, I just felt that though I got used to the writing style, it was ultimately a little bit difficult to follow, so I know that everything that occurred within the novel didn't truly resonate with me. I thought that the plot was very interesting. I really loved that Beloved as a character was just this sort of manifestation of everybody's grief, of everybody's pain, and everybody's lack of a life. And as she grew more and more powerful, then that made the main character grow weaker and weaker. And I really loved the just interpretation of family and of women's relationships. Of course, all the talk of grief was really powerful. And I just liked the idea that the ghost was haunting the house. I really liked that premise. And I think it was a very interesting and unique and ultimately good story that I read. I never would have checked out this book in particular if it weren't for the poster. I had heard the name Toni Morrison before, but never any of her specific books. So I'm very glad that I checked this book out, even if I felt it's not one of my favorite books that I've ever read. I don't hate it, and there's no problems with it. It's just one of those books that is not going to ultimately stick with me at this point in time. So let's go into next month, where I believe I will be tackling one of the giant Russian beasts that's on the poster. There's 6 Russian literature books on the list, and I haven't even gotten to any of them yet because I was too intimidated by them. So I believe in March I will be reading Anna Karenina, so stay tuned. Hello, happy March. Here we are. We're finally in the actual start of the year. January and February are so bad that they never count. So what book have I chosen for the giant month of March, the start of the year? Of course, I picked something nice, light, and easy to fit into the theme of spring. I'm reading Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. The audiobook is 33 hours long. No, but seriously, I am only 3 hours into this audiobook. I started the audiobook today, and so far it isn't too bad. Now, from what I understand of the novel, going into it, it is a dual perspective about a guy named, is it Vronsky? And then, of course, Anna Karenina. So one of them is that these 2 guys are trying to marry this young woman named Kitty. I think the 2 guys' names are Lenin and Vronsky. but there's a bunch of stuff getting in the way of one of them asking the other one to marry, blah, blah, blah. There's a whole bunch of stuff about that. I'm guessing they're going to be talking about themes of class and religion, etc. And the other half of the novel, something I have barely gotten into thus far because I'm only 9% of the way into the book, is Anna Karenina is related to the other storyline in some capacity, I think by marriage or brother or something, unrelated. But her thing is that she gets into an affair. That's what I know from, like, the movie. I know the movie only really focuses on Anna Karenina's story. I'm sure they do a little bit of the other story, but that tends to be the biggest problem with the movie, people say, is that it only focuses on one of the storylines. So far I am enjoying it. It's a lovely, colorful cast of characters. They're all pretty funny and unique and different in their own way, and the writing style is not too bombarded, it's not too heavy, you know, especially with Russian translated works, sometimes they can be very heavy. I'm sure, along with all of the other novels published in the 1800s, they're going to sidetrack into things that don't matter. Moby Dick loved whales. Anything by Victor Hugo is based on any of his hyperfixations. I've read The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He talked about the Notre Dame for too long. Don't get me started on Les Mis. I personally have not read it, but I know half of that brick is about the Paris sewer systems. Not cool. So I'm wondering what Leo Tolstoy's little hyperfixation is going to be, if he's going to focus on one thing and have it take up like 500 pages. So I'm looking forward to that. Until then, this is my happy face only barely started Anna Karenina. We will see if I end up liking the story the further I go on. So stay tuned. Okay, we're about a week into March. I am officially 62% done the audiobook to Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. And what is there to say, really? I went into my earlier clip thinking, okay, what's this author's hyperfixation that makes the book so long? I listed some examples earlier. In this one, sure, a lot of the characters have hobbies that they talk about, such as art and philosophy. But ultimately, there's no hyperfixation so far where he's just going on and on about the details of a certain thing, thereby rendering the book 200 pages longer as he's just putting all of his research into the book. The book so far has just been split into two. Obviously, the affair going on with Anna Karenina and Levin and his, marriage and the death of his brother, which just happened as of the time of me reading. Personally, to me, Levin's storyline is a bit more compelling because there's a lot more going on about religion and marriage and his doubts and that. And I believe it was him, right, who was doing the farming. So, good for him learning about the plights of the lower classes and trying to get more into, communism and stuff. Really neat stuff. Meanwhile, Anna's storyline with Vronsky and her husband and, having a child, and she just had a child fever. It's not as compelling to me. I'm sure in, film adaptations, things just look prettier and, there's actual chemistry between the actors and stuff, but just listening to it, it's just a lot of Anna going, this affair is so bad, but oh boy, is it so good, right? Not a lot going on in that. So I'm wondering what the other half of this book is going to be. Probably just the resolution of everything. Probably going to be what Anna Karenina did was bad and ruined the lives of some people, and then what Levin's gonna deal with is probably a bit more of his insecurities and then coming to terms with that. The book is fine. Listening to it is completely fine. I just don't understand why it's 900 pages. This is one of those ones where it's everything in it is just fine. It just did not need to be this long. Personally, a 33-hour long audiobook. Come on! Help! That's it for now. Look forward to my final thoughts, which will probably be the same. I did it! 33 hours. I did it. I have just finished Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. This giant beast is also getting 2 stars. As much as I tried to say in the earlier clips, I was looking for his one subject that he focuses on for hundreds of pages. There were none. He just wanted to wax philosophy and sort of put his own biographical life into the life of Levin, which is fine. His story was more interesting to me than Anna's, so I didn't mind it. Him learning about love and not to, fall for his doubts, and to learn how to farm and how to treat people well, and eventually learning maybe he is religious. Who knows? I'm not really going to tell anyone because it's my own personal journey. That stuff was pretty good. But the Anna storyline went on forever. And it was just her being paranoid because she cheated, and then afraid that Vronsky was going to cheat, and then jumping in front of a train. What an anticlimax. The ending of the book was really well done. It was definitely Tolstoy going, I'm finally done! Let me put all of my best work into my final 2 chapters. That definitely seems like that was his goal. So this book was not worth being 1,000 pages or 33 hours of an audiobook on double speed. About 40% of the way through the book, I decided to turn it to double speed. And it didn't help. I get a lot of the messaging in this book, a lot of the descriptions of class, religion, philosophy, and love, but a lot of it just wasn't that great to me. There are some classics that I just immediately enjoy reading and I really, really like, and Anna Karenina was definitely not one of them, unfortunately. So, we're going to move on with our final book of this quarter, that being The Princess Bride by somebody. So stay tuned. Okay, here we are in April. This is going to be a very anticlimactic end to the video because today I listened to the entirety of The Princess Bride by William Goldman, and I'm only giving it 3 stars. Now, I listened to the 2.5-hour long audiobook, which is essentially the abridged version of the book, which is essentially the movie adaptation of The Princess Bride, and that also means that it was simply just the story that the guy's grandfather told him while he was sick. It's the tale of adventure and romance and whatever they said. I remember encountering a lot of The Princess Bride online in references and jokes, and I never understood the humor of it. I also caught it on TV once and watched about 20 minutes of it and didn't laugh. So this story essentially isn't for me. I didn't find it particularly funny, and when listening to the audiobook, which was, funnily enough, narrated by Rob Reiner, who I believe directed The Princess Bride, I didn't really laugh. The only time I laughed was when the guy in all black said, "Get used to disappointment," because that's just funny and very, dry. It was, the one time that I, chuckled a little bit. So yeah, besides that, it was a pretty well-written story. I can't flack it for that just because it didn't make me laugh. It was a very well-done, well-told sort of fantasy fairy tale story. And I really enjoyed a lot of the elements, including the "as you wish" meaning "I love you," and the warrior Inigo Montoya trying to find a man with 6 fingers on his right hand, a very clever and interesting way to tell a story of vengeance. I thought that I deserved something shorter to finish off this quarter of reading because I just put myself through 33 hours of an audiobook. So I'm glad that I am already done my 100 Epic Reads of a Lifetime book for this month. And that also means it is the end of this video now. Thank you so much for watching. I have already read 72 books off of my list, so there's not that many left that I have to go through. So hopefully we will be completing this series within, I think, the next 2 years. I could say that. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all next time. Bye bye.